Keyword stuffing, chasing 80% score, fearing auto rejection. What if everything you are doing is wrong? Spoiler, it is. Today, I'm revealing ATS myths. Stay tuned. I'm Anna Naumova, product manager, ex-Apple, career coach, and podcast and YouTube creator. If you need help with your job search, career goals, please visit my website annanaumova.com for more information. So today I have with me Nkem Nwankwo, Senior Director of Product Management at Greenhouse. Hi, Nkem.
Hey Anna, how's it going?
I'm going really well. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. It's Friday, got a lot of meetings, but it's almost the weekend.
Yay! I like your background, by the way. What's that?
Thank you, thank you. We have some games back here, some arcades. I have Marvel vs. Capcom and then Terminator 2 also in the background over there. I never really play them though. I'm too busy taking care of my kids, but my kids do get some fun playing them.
Okay, are you work from home right now?
Yes, I do work from home.
Okay, it's your home, not office.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, can you briefly tell me about yourself and what you're doing? And I see your t-shirt, like actually,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
greenhouse, and I have Houston, Houston Marathon.
Love it, love it. I applaud you for running marathons. That's something I can never do. I top out at like 6 miles.
You
Uh,
should.
maybe one day we'll talk about that later. But hey everyone, I'm Nkem, and I am the senior director of product management at Greenhouse over what's called an emerging business side of R&D here. So it deals with everything from our ecosystem integrations, AI, our onboarding platform, our My Greenhouse candidate portal, all of that. So I've been at Greenhouse for a little over 3 years now. I've been in product as a whole for about 15. And yeah, I just love technology and I would love to talk to y'all today about ATSs and some of the truths and some of the myths as well.
Cool. And greenhouse, as far as I know, greenhouse is like one of the like top or even top ATS. Can you tell me or like our viewers about greenhouse?
Yeah, absolutely. So Greenhouse Software, it's a recruiting suite. It's just a talent management system as a whole. So our flagship software is Greenhouse Recruiting. And what Greenhouse Recruiting is an ATS, an applicant tracking system. So that's where we kind of made our name there. So what we do is um, to ingest candidate applications whenever you're applying to a job board, there's a big chance that it might be actually Greenhouse that you're applying through. So you apply through there. We process that application. We give the recruiters and the talent acquisition team, hiring managers, all of that, the internal teams, the ability to interview candidates, rate them, process their applications, give them offers, and then onboard them onto their HRIS systems as well too. So we handle that whole process there. We also have onboarding. We also have a candidate-facing portal as well too. So we're really trying to be the only hiring system that companies actually need. That being said, we're probably the number one mid-market ATS in the market right now. So if you have a company anywhere from like 50-ish, maybe 30-ish employees, all the way to 10,000 employees, right? That's kind of the range that we sit in today. But there's always aspirations to go beyond that.
Cool. And how to know whether you're applying via greenhouse or in any other ATS? Can you
Yes,
give a hint? Yeah.
usually, sometimes you can check the URL, and if you see Greenhouse in the URL, yeah, that's definitely us. There might be a powered by Greenhouse at the bottom, but also if you are a little bit technically inclined, you can open up the dev tools, do a search for Greenhouse on the code, because some of our customers actually just embed or use our APIs to embed their job posts onto their already existing career pages there. If you do a search there and you can see Greenhouse in the HTML, then yeah, you found us as well too. But in general, you take a look at the look and feel. A lot of times you're like, okay, this is Greenhouse. I get it.
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's easier to apply via Greenhouse than like Workday. Yeah, I remember when I was applying a Workday, you need to create a lot of stuff, like I fill out a lot of
Oh man, I'm not
information.
going to give too much shade up front on that, but yes, what you're alluding to is correct. Greenhouse, it really got a lot of its success and initial just fame from the ease of application instead of having to create a whole application every single time you apply to a job. You upload your resume and then you have to fill out these questions again, and you're like, I just uploaded my resume. Why do I have to fill out the questions again? We take all of that off of your plate and allow just a very much more simple application process.
So you are lucky if you apply for the job via Greenhouse, right?
I will say that every company that I've interviewed for that have used Greenhouse, it's noticeable how much better their interview process actually is. And that's from not just from the application standpoint, but from the process standpoint as well too. They just seem more well put together, I would say.
Yeah, this is super annoying, and I don't understand why some ATS systems use like created different login credentials for each company. Can you
Yeah,
explain that? What the reason behind of that?
okay, so I can give you a high level, and obviously I'm not these companies, but I can give
Yeah,
you a high
yeah.
reasoning for that. It's because every single company, when they have their candidates, those candidates, that candidate data belongs to that company, right? So what those ATSs are doing are actually separating those entities from their individual tenants or individual customers there, so they're not mixed and matched there. So that's like the base level reason why they're actually separate and they create their own applications.
But you solve this problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Greenhouse traditionally, for the longest time, we never had this whole create your own application concept here, right?
Hmm.
So with that being said, you could just apply and boom, you shoot it in. You don't have to create an application or anything. We do have a new product that debuted earlier this year called My Greenhouse, where you do create your own applications, a candidate-facing portal. I can get into the details of that. It's pretty cool. We are hoping and we have so much high visions that it's going to take a lot of the stress that you see off of the job process as a whole. But that being said, you do create an application there. But the difference between that is that Greenhouse is its own portal, and it's not necessarily my Greenhouse is its own portal, and it's not necessarily bound to each individual employer. So you don't have to set up all those individual applications.
Gotcha, gotcha. So let's move towards like ATS as actually everybody knows that. It's like processing, resume processing functionality. I know that ATS is much broader, that you described before, but let's focus on the this like top of the funnel when
Yeah.
candidates apply for the job. So what is actually like how it actually works? This specific process.
Yeah. So on the back end, what's going to happen, I'll walk you through like the whole thing. Usually, and this is maybe a little bit close to best practice over here, the actual functional team, like the hiring manager team says, hey, we got a new headcount. We want to make a hire, right? They reach out to talent acquisition, they do all their planning, and they get together and say, we need to create this job. We have this open position over here. Here's all of the details, and this is what we're actually looking for. Optimally, they should have a conversation and back and forth where they go very in depth into what kind of candidate they're looking for. What's the qualifications over here? How many years of experience, and what type of questions will you actually pull out from this? Ask this candidate to pull out some of these criteria and these responsibilities that they actually need, right? What are the expectations for the candidate? They have a really in-depth conversation on that. And from there, the TA team is going to go ahead and create that job description, that job post, and all that within Greenhouse, right? They'll create the salary range as well and all of that. So once that gets approved by management, click a button, gets approved, and then it is posted to the company job board there. At that point, they can choose things like, hey, I want to post this to other job boards like a LinkedIn, an Indeed, Monster, all the ones that you normally know, right? They can also have that option, but it's going to sit on their job board there. At that point, now candidates can go ahead and apply to your jobs on your website, right? So from the candidate perspective, you jump on there, you put your details in, and you upload your resume. You maybe ask some questions about um, uh, disability status, veteran status, race, ethnicity, that sort of thing.
Visa.
Visa as well too, all those questions there, and then maybe some additional questions, and then you hit submit, and boom, it gets processed through the whole system. Let me pause there, and I know you probably have some subsequent questions because there's a lot of details in this process. So let me pause and see if you have any questions so far from what I just described.
Might probably, yeah, question what's going on next, because
Yeah.
I think the magic becomes like after a candidate applies, because before that it looks like very straightforward.
Yeah.
Open the job description, just fill out all the information, and just click apply. And then what the monster machine is doing after that.
So I think what you're alluding to and some of the where the confusion pops up is what happens actually at the top of the funnel. The question that you're always going to get from job seekers out there in the job market is, I submitted my application. Where did it go? Right?
Yeah,
Are
just
you
a
being
black hole.
deployed?
Yeah, for me it's
Just
a
a
black
black hole.
hole.
I'm not getting any
Yeah.
responses. What is actually going on? Let's talk about that, right? Well, rewind back into the history of applicant tracking systems. So if you think of an applicant tracking system at its very, very base, just like any other B2C software, it's a database, right? So you have a database with these candidates that came in and these applications that came in with different pieces of data actually on them, right? So if you were to put no sort of sorting and filtering on that database there, you could literally do a first in, first out. Like this is the first candidate that applied to this position. Let me go pick that candidate off the stack and let's review their application, right? As the system started to evolve, there's new technologies like being able to parse the resume, being able to ask certain questions that are knockout questions in the application, to actually sort and filter that list that you have over there, right? Typically, the default mode of a ATS is first in, first out, meaning the first person that applies, you're the first person to actually get seen, right? But what actually happens today, let's rewind, or sorry, fast forward to 2025, or maybe a few years before 2025. Let me not jump all the way till today, right? First thing that probably popped up is the ability to parse a resume and to extract some details there and to actually extract some of the details in the text boxes or the drop downs that you have in an application. With those two things, let's talk about the application questions first. You have these things called, industry term is knockout questions, right? So I'll give you a good like a very basic example of this. Let's say, for example, I'm not sure what the child labor laws are, but let's say that you have to be at least 15 to work in the US, right? They'll ask a question, are you over 15? Or if you're applying for a delivery job, do you have a driver's license? Those sorts of things, right, that are clear binary yes or no's, you can put that into an application, and those are called knockout questions there. If you answer one of those questions to whatever the company actually configured as, hey, this is a minimum baseline requirement for the job, and you answer like the opposite of what that requirement actually is, yes, you're probably going to get automatically dinged from that job there, right? So a lot of times where this gets misconstrued is that people will say, oh, I applied for this job. I received a rejection in 30 seconds. There's no way anyone could have reviewed my resume in that time. AI has actually reviewed my application and they tossed my application out. They're unaware that there are knockout questions in that application, and it's actually the knockout questions that knocked you out there. And those are just baseline requirements of the company to actually get you in the door. And that's the filtering that they do at the top, right? So if you like 9 times out of 10, if you receive a rejection immediately, is because of a knockout question, actually, right? So that's one thing. I guess we just got into our first myth that AI automatically rejecting my application. No, it's a knockout question. Those have existed for decades, actually, like more than a decade. Those are just standard practice over here, right? And if you think about it, it's really the same thing as you talking to a human and them asking you, "Hey, are you over 18?" And you're like, "No." Okay, well, you can't apply for this job. It's the same concept there. So that's one thing that I want to get out of the way. So let's advance past knockout questions and let's get into some of the more advanced stuff here. So beyond that, there's keyword search, right? So you're going to have certain questions that they'll ask, and in addition to that, technology has grown to be able to parse resumes and be able to read like the context that's on a resume. So what you can do is do a Boolean search within an ATS. Most ATSs actually have this, and you're going to put, I want this, I'm searching for this term plus this term minus, and I don't want this term or this term. And you all just look at Boolean search, you'll see how that actually works here. And that will filter that list down, right? Now it'll still be ranked according to when you submitted the application. So it's still first in, first out there, but you just filter the list down to those resumes that have those terms actually in them that match that Boolean search, which is basically equivalent to a recruiter scanning a resume and seeing if you have this term here and saying, okay, this one has this term. Cool, I'll put that to the side. I'm going to review that later. This one doesn't. Let me put that in the rejection pile or the let me review it later pile. It's not necessarily that you're rejected. You're just not in the pile that they said, oh, this has some of the keywords that we're actually looking for here. So that's the next level up from, excuse me, the knockout questions there. Okay. So then from there, let's fast forward to 2025, or you could say 2022 when LLMs and ChatGPT came on the scene and OpenAI kind of changed the world and all of that. We now have the ability to parse a resume and do things like semantic search, do things like inference on skills and experience and all of that, and kind of determine how, like, from the text on this resume, what skills a person may or may not have there, right? And what a lot of ATSs are doing right now, and either they already have this out or they're developing this and they're about to put this out, is the ability to take a look at an application and say, oh, okay, according to what you specified as the things that you're looking for, this application matches this certain level or can fit into this bucket, like very strong match. This is a strong match. This is an okay match. This is a very low match, or this application doesn't match at all, right? And they can put them in those buckets, those fuzzy buckets over there, right? And really the way that AI actually does this, there's certain associations with words. There's semantic search saying, hey, if you're looking for a Node developer, if the person has JavaScript on them, there's a certain correlation between those, right? Because if somebody knows JavaScript, they could probably pick up Node, or they could probably pick up Angular, right? It just takes a little bit of time to actually get it. Although directly saying Node.js would be the stronger match in between those, right? So that's a lot of what AI is doing. It's obviously I just simplified it a lot, but it's really matching all of those up, right? So after that, once you get those classifications there, that now gives the recruiter, and this is all up to the company and their systems and their philosophies and all of that, to say, hey, I would like to take a look at these types of applications first before I go to the rest of them over here, right? Because let's now take a look at what's happening on the recruiter side with the advent of AI. And I don't blame job seekers at all for this because it's crazy out there. It's completely insane. There's way too many candidates. and it feels like there's not enough jobs. People are going to a lot of these third-party services, and they're one, form fitting their resumes exactly to the job description. So every resume is now looking exactly the same, like they just came out of an AI factory there, right? So they're really overfitting to those. That's one thing that's happening. In addition to that, they're using these AI services to find all of the job posts all over the internet and just shotgun blast all of their applications to those jobs and just praying that they get through the door there, right? So what that actually results in is I'm a recruiter. I opened up this job on Monday morning. I wake up Tuesday morning. I take a look how many applications I have. I have 1,500 applications sitting there. Me as one person, there's no way that I can go through all those applications through what I just said. Like if you're going first in, first out, and you're checking all of those. Um, so what they're looking for is any kind of relief to get down to like the really applicable ones. Because what you'll actually find is that through this shotgun approach, when you do that at scale, I'm not embellishing this at all. 50%, like let's say there's 1,000 applications, 500 of those applications off the bat are not even, they're either going to be complete spam, like just not even relevant to the application, or they're not qualified for it as well, or then they're just junk as well. They're actually a fake candidate. It's like 50 to 60 to 70% of them, right? So you can like they're as they go through these applications, they're saying, I'm just reviewing junk applications this whole time. So it really taints the whole pool of candidates that you have there. So they want to get those out of there. Now, let's say that it's 70%. Now you're down to 300, right? And you're trying to figure out of these 300 applications that are over here, how do I very as efficiently as possible get the best candidates out of this 300? What they're trying to look for is the resumes or the application that match most with what the hiring manager was actually looking for. And that's what these tools are actually trying to do here. And that's like the cat and mouse game that's going on right now. There's so many applications because people are desperate and they're applying to everything over here. But now recruiters are completely overwhelmed. Now, actually, let me pause there because I have a lot of thoughts and I can keep on going and going and going. Let me pause and see if you have any other questions.
Keep going because it's really interesting, and I will ask my questions at the end because this is a cool story. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me keep on going then. So let's say you're down to the 300 applications, then you're really trying to find the best ones. If I'm a recruiter and I've been a hiring manager for a while now, I've interviewed for over a decade. I've gone through thousands of applications before, whether it's through for UX positions to product positions, obviously, to engineering positions, all of that. I've been a team member in all of these, right? I've reviewed these applications. A human being, if that goes through that volume of applications, you are at most taking 15 seconds. And that's even a stretch there to take a look at the application, seeing if it matches. You're looking for where they worked, how long they worked there, what things are kind of bolded, like see if you can see some impact there, maybe what their degree, if it's like a really technical position, what technologies they worked in, and then also school is it doesn't really matter that much, right? School is whatever, right? Maybe what companies they work for as well too, right? So you're doing a quick glance for all of that, right? I'm human. You're human. All the recruiters are human. You are going to miss things in that application. There are going to be candidates in that pool that you took a look at for 15 seconds. I'm really being generous by 15 seconds as well too. That you're going to take a look for 15 seconds and you miss something there. And that could have been your unicorn star candidate there, right? Because you're human, right? You know who's not human? AI. So the thing is, AI doesn't get tired. Computers don't get tired. They don't default to their biases. They don't say, oh, it's after lunch and I just don't have the concentration, so I'm just going to look just straight for this, right? It can actually surface the really correlative, the strong correlations resumes up to the top, much better than a human can actually going through manually, right? And that is one of the big like misconceptions, inconsistencies here that we're seeing. Now, let me get this, don't get me wrong over here. I'm not saying that AI is unbiased, that it can't introduce bias. It obviously can because how you tune it, humans make AI, so humans are biased, so there's always going to be some bias there. What I'm saying is that humans overrate themselves and they have way more confidence in humans than is actually the truth, right? Because literally, so surprise, surprise, we are in beta with one of these functionalities right now to go ahead and rank and categorize and match candidates to criteria that recruiting team has actually put. We've been testing this with a bunch of different customers, with our internal teams as well too. I've literally been on Slack threads where we're working on the algorithm, we're trying to reduce bias, we're trying to get all this down. And the feedback that we got back is that, oh, you had this very strong match candidate here. I wouldn't have picked this candidate because I don't like how their resume is formatted. This, the way that this was worded here is actually wrong here, and all of that. And I saw that, and from the software developer standpoint to a recruiter, you're like, hey, I want to build things that recruiters actually want to use because you don't want your product actually thrown in the trash because people are like, oh, this isn't working correctly, right? So you want them to think, okay, this is how I would actually grade these applications here. But then there's a flip side of that saying, wait a second, that resume being formatted incorrectly, in your opinion, doesn't actually mean that this person can't do the job, right? So the AI actually was right, most likely. You're the one that has the bias, right? So we are seeing this live and direct. It's so fascinating to actually see. So whenever I see these comments, whether it's on LinkedIn or in different social media, about how, AI is just throwing people's applications in the trash and all of that, I'm like, dude, AI most likely is actually helping you out because if you had no connections to somebody inside this company before and you're just applying blindly, and your resume is actually good, granted, your resume actually has to be good and actually match to what they're looking for and all that, and you say that you can do the job. Um, you probably have more of a chance with AI because the AI can take you from the back of that line. Remember, it's first in, first out, right? If you apply number 1,000 without any sorting or filtering, you're going to be number 1,000 that they look at. AI can take you from number 1,000 to number one if, if your resume is that top rank one, right? So I think that there's a big misconception there. And just another point to that, right? With this shotgun blast of resumes that these recruiters are seeing, you know what's actually happening now that recruiters are so overwhelmed with this sheer volume of resumes? They are defaulting back to the good times, to the old times, to the Make America Great Again times. You know what that means? Referrals. They are like, yo, I don't have time to review all of these resumes out here. A large percentage of the resumes I'm going to review are going to be from the referral stack rather than the free for all, just free application stack over here, right? And I don't blame them for that, right? Because if I have 1,500 resumes sitting, in my application review, what am I going to do? I'm going to trust my employees who referred this person more than, what could be a shotgun blast resume. So that being said, like I just feel like technology is actually improving these things, and there's a lot of skepticism about it, but technology is actually helping you out there. So now let me pause again and see if you have
Okay. Okay.
about.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Let's walk through myth because you explain a lot of stuff and think what to do, what applicants can do with that, and how you said just apply a good resume. That's a great idea, but how? Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, okay. You've already mentioned that. So Myth number one is that ATS automatically rejects applications. And
Yep.
you said it's not an ITS, it's recruiters, yeah, or like humans rejects. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you like a little bit elaborate on everything that it's not ATS rejection you?
Yeah. So according to what rules the human actually sets in the ATS, such as does this person have this type of experience? Can you code in JavaScript? Do you live in these areas? Are you over this age? Can you lift 50 pounds? All of that, right? Those knockout questions are actually what is automatically rejecting you. It is not the just comes out manually from the ATS or automatically from the ATS that the ATS is automatically doing that. It is actually the settings that the recruiter put in place there. Like I said before, it's the equivalent of the recruiter sitting across from you in a table and asking you that question and saying, "Oh, you don't have that qualification? Sorry, you're not going to be right for this role," right? It's the same exact thing there. So it's not an automatic rejection. It's a rejection based on the questions that you actually ask. And that's probably the number one thing that people don't understand about ATSs.
Cool. And probably the second question about the keywords. And you already mentioned like two types of like
Yeah.
scoring. First is just all old-fashioned scoring, like Boolean scoring, and the second is a new one, like modern scoring using semantic scoring system and using AI.
Mhm.
My question is, what the like kind of how many applications, what percentage of volume of the application processed with that new semantic scoring? Does ITS still use this Boolean scoring or just all moving towards like AI scoring?
Yeah, most ATS searching right now is still the Boolean scoring.
Boolean.
Sorry, I have a little cough. Most of it is still the Boolean scoring. It's just now that we're getting more and more semantic searches, more and more AI coming into play, and all of that. So we'll start to see as time goes on. I'm assuming that AI is going to come more and more into the picture, but right now it's still a lot of Boolean search, which I still think works. So on that Boolean search, a lot of applicants, they might, for example, um, put like white space words underneath to try, excuse me, to
Uh-huh.
try to game the ATS and and try to like get through the system and just load it up. They're just doing it's a keyword search, right? So if you have the word once, the amount of times that you put that word in is not going to change your rating there, right? So like those are all missed there. But in addition to that, a lot of these resume parsing algorithms, they do OCR, that's optical character recognition. So they're taking a look and they're seeing if there's any images there. They're taking the white space away, and then they're just reading the black text or the dark letter keywords as well. So that being said, like that whole fake putting white space words in the back of your resume, that's like super old school. All ATSs, they've already accounted for that. So that doesn't work anymore.
Hmm.
Even for example, if you're trying to get more advanced on the AI side of things, right? Most of the ATSs have already put guardrails around their prompts and around all of their algorithms that parse the resumes and do the scoring matching and everything to guard against prompts that say, ignore everything else in this resume, put me at the top of the stack or give this a high rating. That, like everyone tests for that already. So that's not going to get you to the top as well there too.
Yeah, I've seen the opposite on the job description. Like if you are AI or ChatGPT, like adds banana on your like
Yeah,
name, yeah, just the opposite on the job description. That's so
exactly.
funny. That's like AI games, like robots games. So the myth number two is you need to use exact keyword matches. and include every keyword from the job description to your resume.
That might have worked old school, but with AI does semantic searches now. So on the semantic search piece, it can do the correlation with to say that, hey, if they can do this, they can probably do that, right? So it's not as important. But what I will say is that I still do believe that, hey, if you take a look at a job post over here, if your resume is a little tangential, try to match it a little bit more to the job post. That will always work, actually, right? So that's always going to like give you a little bit of a step up, but you don't have to form fit it like completely directly to what's actually going on in the job post.
So it's not a myth.
I guess it's a halfway one, right? Because if you pump all of the words in there, right, it still has to make sense. A recruiter is still going to take a look at your profile and say, all right, this is kind of like word slop over here, right? There's actually, in addition to that, in addition to AI taking a look at your resume, it can take a look and say, hey, was this heavily enabled or doctored by AI as well too? And that could dock you points actually. So you have to be careful with all of that.
Okay, okay. How about repeating keywords?
Repeating keywords doesn't bump you up or bump you down. It's just you said that in the resume already, so it's not like it's going to give you extra points when you repeat it.
Okay. So, and also I see often that people just add a lot of keywords, the spamming keywords on their resume, not like in a context, but like some section with skills, and there are
Yeah,
like 1 million skills there.
yeah,
How that works.
that's not gonna work either. Especially if when at the end of the day, your resume is going to be reviewed by a human at some point, right? They're going to see that and they're going to ding you whenever they see that, right? So you can't go overboard with that kind of stuff.
Why? If I pass ATS and recruiter finally see my resume, otherwise they don't even see my resume if I haven't stuffed it with keywords.
The recruiter still has to pass you on to the next spot though, as well. Now, what you're getting at is that there's this whole top of the funnel problem that you have, right? Like there's this way too many applicants. How am I going to stand out from everyone else, right? Yeah, I mean, to do that, my advice is, yeah, take a look at the job post, adjust your bullet points to match like what's going on there. You don't have to overly stuff it and make it seem corny or make it seem like, hey, you're very, very prominently trying to fit this, right? But be reasonable with it, right? Other ways to make your resume kind of stand out. Some, and this is going to be hiring manager by hiring manager, company by company. Some of them really like cover letters. So that could be a way, but it all depends. That's not an ATS thing. That's whether the employer actually likes it or not. Maybe you can stand out through a cover letter. Although me personally, I don't do cover letters anymore. I just feel like it's most people don't look for them, but you might come across a person who actually does, right? So beware of that. You have to kind of get that feeling there. Um, at the end of the day, the very practical advice that I can give you to get the top of the stack, I don't think referrals are ever going to go away. The referral is the number one way to get to the top there, right? So whatever you can do, if it's reaching out to people on LinkedIn for networking, kind of working your network here and there, I would advise you highly to consider trying to get a referral first before you blindly just put your resume in, because that's the number one way to get to the top of the stack.
Okay, okay. Still, just what I can understand. So, stuffing resume with keywords still work with ATS who use Boolean search, right? Like old-fashioned. But since ATS are moving towards AI, semantic search, it won't work. Is that correct?
Yeah, so and it kind of depends on the stuffing, right? There's levels to this. If you're stuffing the same word over and over and over again, that's not going to move it up. If you're taking a look at the job post and you see that maybe it's node and then it's They need node experience. They need experience with Kubernetes, or and then maybe they also need containerization, and they need to work on AWS as well to be familiar with that, right? Maybe you touch on each of those in the skills section, maybe you have a bullet point for each of those and you can describe it and all of that. Then, yes, in a Boolean search, that will help you because they might be putting this and this and this or that. And the more times that you can hit all of those things that are in the job description, yeah, sure, right? But putting the same thing over and over and over again, that's not going to bump you up higher.
Hmm. Yeah, my question was about the context where to use. I can put Java in my resume just to the bottom, like on my skills. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I haven't mentioned how I use Java in my work. And maybe talk about Java, I don't know, something else like the island Java, right? To cheat the system, right?
yeah.
So, and there is no context how I actually use Java at my work. So, and as far as I understand that new modern AI like algorithms can understand the context of that, but the
Yes.
Boolean cannot.
The Boolean, by definition, would not be able to. But that power is in the hands of the recruiter, though, right? Because what you can do, kind of what you're alluding to a little bit over here, is that you could put Java in, but Java might be associated with object-oriented programming, might be associated with working in sprints, might be associated with cross-functional teams, might be working associated with working with a designer, with a product manager, with doing financial projections or this much money brought in. And from there, the recruiter can say, I want to see this in the Boolean search. I want to see this and this or this, da, 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 and they can make a really complex one that
Hmm.
that you can only put together in a sentence or in the actual bullet points there to pull that out. Now, obviously, you have to be a pretty skilled recruiter to make that actually work. But I could see somebody working around just shoving all of that stuff in the skills section.
Okay. Okay, let's move to myth number 3 about scoring. There are a lot of services like resume review AI or job scan, like that services that you apply your resume, apply a job description, and get a score. And the higher your score, so you can hit, you should hit 80% score to pass the ATS.
Mhm.
So, what do you think about the scoring on the just different services?
Those services don't know what criteria the recruiter is actually ranking and measuring by, right? So that's a really interesting one, right? The way that talent matching within Greenhouse works is that the recruiter goes and they can, through either natural language or through just marking out all the skills that they're actually looking for, say this particular skill, hard skill, is very important. This skill is not critical at all. This skill is this level. And there's like a slider bar that you could actually set there, right? And you can rank all of the different things that might come up from the super important, must have, all the way down to this is not relevant at all, right? Those services don't have what the recruiter actually did for this particular job. And you do that differently for every single job that's actually out there, right? So a service can take a look at the job post, but that job post is also not going to say, this is how strong we're looking for this. This is how strong we're looking for that. So it's kind of buyer beware there, right? It's not going to be a one-to-one match between the two because that service doesn't know exactly what this recruiting team is actually looking for.
No, the way I'm asking because I've heard a lot of stories that people say, I have an excellent resume. My score is 80 at JobScan, but I'm still not passing the like through the ATS.
Yeah, because you don't know what they're looking for in the ATS, right? Yeah, so JobScan doesn't know that. So yeah, it's just and it can't know that because that's proprietary information within the system as well.
Yeah, looks like jobs kind of like a fraudulent system taking money from people to
I
promise
didn't say
them.
that. I
Yeah,
didn't say that. That was me.
I said that, I said that. Yeah, because they take money and give them a promise that, oh, you have an excellent score, you can pass the any ATS, but people don't do that. Like, it's very frustrating to pay money
Right.
for what? Yeah.
And people are desperate as well too. So programs like that, I mean, it's just taking prey on the current situation that's happening out in the market with high interest rates, lower budgets, layoffs, less positions out there. So it's really just taking advantage of all of that, and it's kind of a shame.
Yeah. Okay, myth number four. ATS cannot parse creative resume design. You should remove all graphics and logos, and also ATS can't handle two-column resumes. So, what do you think about it?
So ATS's today technology can parse many different formats. It can parse graphics as well too. Two columns shouldn't be a problem as well, but there's levels to this, right? So it shouldn't be crazy. You can't put all graphics on there and expect an ATS to interpret it correctly. So, be reasonable in putting your text on there and your bullet points and all that. Put something that's actually readable by both a person and a computer, and also applicable to the actual job posting as well there too. So I think everyone should just use your judgment on that. Um, Once you get too much into the graphic space, you can definitely pull back on it a little bit, I would say. But I would also just say that because of optical character recognition, yeah, ATSs can read a lot of that, but don't go crazy with it.
Hmm. How about photos on the resume? Can ITS parse that?
Like, so that's an interesting one. I'm trying to think what would the ATS even be parsing there? Like, would be a photo of text? They can parse that. If it's a photo of like a person or anything like that, ATS is specifically like, for example, greenhouse. There's DEI and just ethical rule sets within greenhouse itself that will obfuscate the name, somebody's name, where they're from. If you want, you can cover the school that they went to. So definitely like an image of like a person or anything like that, they wouldn't even be able to see that there, right? I'll give you an example of this. In a lot of our at least product processes for recruiting here, we have take-home tests. When I grade a take-home test, I can never see who the person was. I'm always blindly grading the take-home test, which is awesome. Even if I referred the person, I can't see if I'm grading the take-home test. And obviously, they wouldn't actually, if I referred somebody, my recruiting team wouldn't pass me that test to actually take. They're really good. They're like, all right, let me give this to another grader over here, right? So, I mean, that being said, yeah, um, any kind of personal like information like that, yeah, that's not gonna get through to an ATS. Like past it.
I mean, if I have photos on my resume, I just be kind of I cannot technically pass through the ATS because it's like my resume got stuck on the ATS because of photo. I've heard
Well,
this.
it's not that your ATS, that your application is going to get stuck or anything. It just won't be able to, if it's illegible, the ATS is not going to be able to recognize the characters on there to even discern like what's going on there, right? So I would say just avoid it. Like there's no reason to put heavy graphics on a resume if you're applying for a job through a system. Maybe if you are showing somebody personally, like in person, your resume, yeah, sure. But if you're trying to, maybe what you're alluding to is like a portfolio, if you're a UX designer and all of that, an ATS is not going to grade your portfolio, via AI or anything like that. It can't do that. Not today.
Mhm.
Like that just requires incredible subjectivity and an incredible eye. And computers are not there. I don't think they're ever going to get there.
Hmm. So ATS reads only text and ignores other graphic information, right?
Yeah,
Something like
yeah,
that. Okay.
exactly. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm not even sure what it would even interpret that other stuff as.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
example, when I use Greenhouse, it's all text-based there
So, okay.
that I'm filtering down by anything like that. There's no kind of I assessed this graphic and I extracted this information.
Okay. So even if I have photo on my resume, ATS just extracts only text and ignore photo. Is that correct? And
That's
my resume anyway pass through the ATS, have some scores without my photo. Is that correct?
yes, that's correct.
Okay, gotcha. How about links? I've heard also links prevent ITS to parse all the information from the resume.
So traditionally, it won't prevent parsing, but traditionally, an ATS is not going to grab the link, go out to the site, and read the site and digest all of that. I think there's some ATSs that are starting to get to that level, but that's new. That's pretty new. But I will say that there is some AI providers out there that say, yeah, I checked this person's GitHub. I
Mm-hmm.
see that they have this type of code on there, so they do have this skill set there. So that does exist today. It's just in the very early stages.
Mm-hmm. So in the future, ATS gonna read the links attached, right?
It can, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. And so far, if you add links to your resume, it doesn't make any just value. It doesn't give any value to resume. Is that correct?
So if I'm a human and I see a link, and let's say, for example, I'm looking at designers, I'm going to click that link and go to your portfolio. So I wouldn't definitely not say that that's irrelevant there. Oh, that's one point. That's one. One link that is very, very important. Actually, this is something all your listeners should hear is your LinkedIn link. Recruiters will specifically check that link to see whether it's a valid one or not. What's happening right now is that they're putting links out to LinkedIn profiles that are obviously spam or obviously just made up there. Like there's some fake picture, there's no details or data on it. The LinkedIn doesn't match the actual application. That's happening a lot. And recruiters are actually setting up workflows that just disqualify people immediately if the LinkedIn link is not a valid one. So that is something that you should actually be serious about. Now, this is not to say that if you do not have a LinkedIn on your resume, they're not going to automatically ding you. But if you have an invalid, like spam LinkedIn on there, then yeah, they will ding you for that. That happens all the time.
Oh, that's interesting. Good to know. Good to know
Mhm.
about that. Cool. So, and my last question about last myth that ATS only looks at the resume, but as far as I know, most ATS system also track cover letters, application responses, LinkedIn profiles, portfolio links, etc. That's is that true? So I don't
Yep.
need to have just only my resume. I also need everything like ecosystem.
So that it all depends on the actual recruiter. Like I said before, some check for LinkedIn's, some check for the cover letters, some check for your portfolio, your GitHubs, all of that, right? It depends on whatever settings the recruiter and that hiring team actually put into the ATS there. The ATS is just an avenue for actually doing that efficiently and checking those types of things efficiently there. So that's dependent. There's no
Oh.
hard set rule there.
Okay, again with rejections, ATS is just a robot, yeah, and
Yeah.
don't make any decisions. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
and especially Greenhouse, what we try as much as possible is to have a human behind every single decision. So there's no Greenhouse robot digging you, right? What happens, like I said again, I'm saying this again, if you get an automatic ding like 15 seconds after you apply, it's because uh, they had a knockout question actually set, and you answered that knockout question in the not preferred way. that's 9 times out of 10 what happened.
Perfect. Can you add other myths maybe I didn't, or tricks how to hack ATS? We did mention before something. We already talked about white words. Anything else I'm missing?
Well, just to reiterate once again, the referral is number one path there. So that's a big one there. I don't know if there's any hacks besides me, shouting out like products that we have, like My Greenhouse, right? So My Greenhouse is a candidate-facing portal. You you create your profile on My Greenhouse, and you could do a job search for the greenhouse companies on there and see all their jobs there. And you can mark every month you get one opportunity to mark a job as a dream job. So that's a signal to the recruiter that out of all the jobs I applied to this month, this is the one that I really want. And recruiters do actually filter by those dream jobs within Greenhouse as well, just to see. So we've seen people being hired from that. So that's like one, I guess, innovation there that you can kind of see. But other than that, um, hacks, there's no hacks other than straight up rolling your sleeves up, networking, and doing the job, having the skills, making sure that you're within your lane. I advocate for this in all stages of life. Stay in your lane. Like this is what I can do. This is what I'm really good at over here. I'm applying to this job. I see these requirements on the job over here. I've done these things that are applicable to these requirements over here. I put them on the resume. I made them clear. So give me the best shot. Actually, you know what? I will add a hack. This is
Okay.
right. Very good hack over here. Remember, I said that the default existence of an ATS is first in, first out, meaning the first application is going to be the first one to be reviewed. Your chances are going to be much higher if you do searches by jobs that have been posted in the last 24 hours. So if you get updates and you see that update, this job was just posted 1 hour ago, apply immediately as soon as you can, because you're going to be at the top of the line in that first in, first out there, right? Even if they're searching for, um, I guess the AI match fit or whatever, there's still going to be like out of the bucket that you fall into, this person applied first, so you're going to be pulled out first, right? So there's ways in Google when you do a Google search, right, to put those parameters into the search to say, oh, any job that was posted in the last hour or in the last 24 hours, you can actually do that. You could Google, everyone go Google how to do that, right? And you can actually be the first in line there. That is actually a very valid hack there. So you should set up alerts for that.
Cool, cool. How about resume length? I've heard about like one pager is the best. Like other people said, oh no, three pagers is the best. Like, does it matter?
So I'm a hiring manager. I could say this. I'm probably only looking at your first page. I don't care. Page two, page three is probably so far in the past. I'm not looking at all of that. So at longest that you should have is 2 pages. And that's if you have a 10 plus 15-year career, that sort of thing. Like my resume is 2 pages now because I did a lot of this stuff 3, 4 jobs ago that I can easily recall and can be applicable for this job over here, and it shows my progression. But if you're, under 5 years, why is your resume more than one page? There's no reason for that.
Hmm. If you have like 10 plus years of experience, just is it okay to have like two, 3 pages resume?
2 pages, okay. 3 pages, no, no. There's
Why?
nobody's resume should be 3 pages. What am I reading for 3 pages? I'm saying this as a hiring manager myself. Like, I'm not going to read that.
Oh, so if you have someone like candidate with 3 pages, you feel that and you have 2 pages, yeah, this guy is kind of like exaggerated, right? His skills.
Oh, good question. You're basically asking, am I judging this person's judgment by having a three
Yes.
page resume?
Like you
Um,
showing off and like better than yourself,
Ooh, that's a
showing.
good question. That's going to be subjective. I would say me, myself, I won't ding you for having a three-page resume, but I'm gonna eye roll at it. And yeah, I'll just be like, this doesn't need to be 3 pages.
Cool. So how to actually pass ATS with what should I do with my resume to pass ATS?
Be applicable for the job. Like stay in your lane. That's it, right? There's no passing. Well, okay, there's passing the ATS. One, submit an actual resume. Let's list some rules over here. Submit an actual legit resume. Make sure that your email is actually legit on there. Make sure that the LinkedIn is to a valid LinkedIn profile as well too. Make sure that the bullet points that you list do correlate with the job post that you just saw there as well too, right? Um, what else? What else? What else? Make sure that you're putting your impact in all of your bullet points there. I, as a hiring manager, that's the first thing I look for. Like, okay, you have this skill set over here, but what did that actually result in here? And what reps um, are actually here in your resume as well? Show career progression here. And it kind of depends on the role. Like, did they move up? Did they stay flat, going from this to this to this? And you might want somebody that was flat from just making horizontal moves. You might want somebody that's accelerating. You might want somebody that's just focused in this particular area. Everything is going to be case by case. And that's why I say just stay in the lane. When you take a look at the job description, legit ask yourself, is this something that I feel like I can do? And that's probably the best way to actually pass the screen. That being said, the numbers out there, to be real, it's not in your favor because there's 1,000+ candidates out there that just applied for this job within the last 24 hours. So what's the best thing that you can do? I'm gonna come back to it. I know this sucks. I know this
Mhm.
is hard, but get a referral. That's gonna be the best way to get to the front of the line. Get a referral, apply as soon as possible to that job as well, too. Be the first one in line. So those are the things that can increase your stakes there. After that, what's actually going to happen if a company went through their first round of candidates, they couldn't find anybody, it's not looking too good, they're going to start tapping agencies to help. All right. So here's another piece, actually, secret, if you will. You should have a Rolodex of recruiters, like third-party recruiters, agencies, or just recruiters that headhunters out there that you have on staff that you check in with every 6 months, saying, "Hey, how you doing?" or whatever, just that you're friendly with, right? So when they have a job that you're applicable for, they say, "Oh, I know this person. I know a really good person to put to nominate for this position over here," and they'll refer you, right? Because these companies, they have a hard time actually getting the candidates that they really, really want. So they're going to reach out to these headhunters over there. And so what I say is, even if you're in a job and you have a headhunter that contacts you, take that call just to talk to them and build that rapport with them over the months to quarters to years. So then when that position does actually open up later down the line, they're keeping you top in mind. That's a hack that you have, but it's networking as well.
That's a great advice. I'm gonna ask you about bullet points since you mentioned them, like impact.
Yeah.
And what I see is a lot of bullshit on these bullet points from ChatGPT, like the same phrases, very generic phrases. Like, what do you think about it?
I see this at work. I see this on LinkedIn. I see this in messages from um, like just friends and stuff like that. You can always tell when it's ChatGPT generated, right? And there's a difference between, hey, I used AI to assist me writing this, and I straight up just copied and pasted this, right? So for you all out there, I 100% recommend that you have AI go through your resume, but you need to go through it after that change this up, make this feel more personable, change this to the actual way that you would actually write this and what you actually did, or else it is very, very apparent when something comes through AI, right? The AI tends to, and I don't know if you have this experience as well too, it'll put double adjectives before something. It'll put a comma, very the important, colorful, or this, that before a word. It's so easy to see that. It will bold words and then put a colon after that.
Yeah.
So easy to see that. It loves the long M dash. The long
Yeah,
M
yeah.
dash, right? Get those out of there, right? Those sorts of things, it's so clear that AI actually did it. And I'm not gonna lie, I use AI every single day for my docs, for my strategy docs and everything. But you better be damn sure I go back through them and I say, oh, this is a little too AI-ish. Isn't how I'd say this. Let me go ahead and clean this up a little bit.
Is it annoying for you? What do you do with these resumes that's full of AI?
It's annoying. It's annoying, but I'm getting used to it. That's the thing. Where we are all in this age of I'm getting used to AI. So I need to take that quote unquote bias off and say, hey, it's okay that this person used AI for their resume. Do their actual skills match what I'm looking for over here?
Do you reject AI resumes?
No, I
No?
don't reject them. By the time resumes hit me, um, I the person has already been through. So I'm a senior director, right? So they've
Yeah.
already been through the screen. They've already been through my our recruiters and our sources and everything like that. By the time they hit me, like they've cleaned a lot of that stuff up. Like, yeah, I don't see those anymore.
Cool. So my last question. So your like I don't know one advice you can give people, or maybe two piece of advice you can give people who are looking for a job right now.
The headhunter thing, that's very real. Like, look for some headhunters. Don't be just, hey, what can you do for me? It's what I can do for you. Get to know them, right? Because the job market will come back at some point, right? So that's one piece there. The other piece that I would say, be really active in everything that you do. Be intensely curious. This is what I always tell PMs. That's one thing that I generally look at for intense curiosity in things, right? There could be when you apply to something, yes, you can have the base level skills, but we also look for leadership, right? So if you did something in another area, right? If there are signs that, oh, this person is a self-starter and I work in a startup that doesn't have a lot of resources, I can actually see that, oh, they wrote a book or they started this website over here. They did this service over here and they completely volunteered and they have this skill set over here. Oh, I know that this person has the ability to do something without a lot of resources. That adds to their resume as well too. So don't just throw out the extracurriculars. That's an actual additive to everything that you're doing, in my opinion.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Cam. It was super insightful and a cool conversation. I hope we really reveal a lot of myths around ATS. Thank you so much again.
No worries, no
And
worries, Anna. This was great. I had a lot of fun. Um, y'all could reach out to me on LinkedIn as well too, just to say hi here and there. I get a lot of LinkedIn messages. You can see if you can surprise me with one that I'll respond to here and there. You can find me. I'm very easy to find. That being said, best of luck to everyone out there. I know that it's crazy out there. Um, Honestly, I don't say this just to throw it out there, but my heart goes out to everyone actually looking for jobs because it is crazy. People have bills to pay. They're in dire situations and the jobs just aren't out there, right? So, me and my role here at Greenhouse, I'm trying to do everything that I can to get you matched up with the career opportunity that's going to be most fulfilling for you and try to change your life. And like anything that I can do to help you out with that, I'm here for. So, yeah, that being said, it's a good discussion. I'm always here to have these types of discussions. But yeah, like to your audience, you can feel free to send me a message. Not guaranteed that I'll respond to because I get a lot of messages, but I do read all of them. So yeah, just let me know.
Cool, cool. Yeah, let's make ATS cool. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And not a
Not
monster,
not
not a monster.
not to be biased or anything, but I think Greenhouse is the greatest ATS, right? And we're
Mm,
continually trying to, as much as possible, prove that. So yeah, be on the lookout for new things to come there.
cool. Thank you so much, Kim.
All
Have a
right.
good everything. Yeah, have a good one. Thank you. Bye
Dude.
bye.
All right.